In today's Leeds news, Charlie Crew loan move, under-18s bow out of the FA Youth Cup, Gelhardt to stay put, Leeds Schmid and transfer talk stance, Buonanotte's future move, and international lawmakers to discuss goalkeeper timeouts. Hey folks, welcome back to the Leeds View for Tuesday, the 20th of January with your Leeds United news. Hope your week is going well so far. We've got some details and stuff coming up this week. The podcast will be out tonight. There will be a press conference reaction ahead of the Everton game over on bigup.com, as well as the watch along over on bigup.com as well. And also details around the predictions will be available. I think tomorrow they go live, so I'll give you the updates on that when they do manage to go live. And then we will have the instant match reaction after the game at the weekend as well. Massive thank you to everyone who has been subscribing recently. We went past 73,000 subscribers yesterday, so we're still in that goal to try and get to 80k by the end of the season. So a massive thank you to everyone who has liked, hyped, subscribed, commented over the last couple of years. It's been massively important and has really helped the channel to grow. But we've got a bit of news to get stuck into today, and we're going to start off with a bit of an exclusive from us. Yeah, I know. But it came to us last night, and we'll give you the information on that right now around Charlie Crew. Not that we get many stories being sent to us, but last night we got information around the potential move of Charlie Crew, and he had an excellent first loan at Doncaster Rovers, but it's safe to say that the second loan and the follow-up didn't go so well for him. Now, that's not all down to Charlie Crew, and a lot of the issues aren't very much at his feet. Doncaster Rovers have their own set of deep-lying issues, and Grant McCann's inability to bring an international player and integrate them into his squad over the course of the season would be a big concern for him as a manager moving forward. But Crew is now safely back at Leeds United, and news yesterday was sent to us that suggested that the plan is for Crew to go out on loan again before the end of this month. The information we received yesterday says that the club need Crew to go out and get minutes, and it is of the highest importance that he gets minutes during this phase of his development, and another loan is being discussed before the end of this month. Crew is still very young, he has plenty of time, but getting senior minutes at this age is seen as invaluable, and the club are trying to sort through details with himself and his agency right now. All of this, of course, is fully dependent on there being interest in Crew going out on loan, but you would imagine there would be League 2 and League 1 clubs very much interested in bringing in a Welsh under-21 international into their sides. We'll see if they can manage to integrate him into their squads where Grant McCann couldn't do it at Doncaster Rovers. It's important for him, he's a really good player, and the sooner he gets these senior minutes, Andy Cousins spoke on the channel earlier this year about that, the earlier they get these senior minutes, the better it is for them in their development. It speeds everything up. So, yeah, fingers crossed for him. Let's talk about some other youths, and not a great night last night for the Leeds under-18 side. Tough night, as I say, for the Leeds United last night as they bowed out of the FA Youth Cup in the third round in heartbreaking circumstances at the end of the game. Leeds were 1-0 down before new signing Karakinjenko, who was signed from Arsenal, equalised for Leeds, and it went all the way into extra time. Leeds lost out, and the winner coming in injury time at the end of extra time. Leeds failed to keep possession on two separate occasions, which led to a breakaway by Swansea, and tired legs and, to be honest, a little bit of poor defending allowed the Swansea player in to score the winner in injury time. It's a tough way for them to go out. It'll be a learning lesson for them as well. There's some really good performances from some of the players in the game as well. The highlights and the full match are available on LUTV as well. But there won't be an FA Youth Cup run for the Leeds United under-18s this year. Swansea will move on to the next round. The Leeds will have to focus on their league campaign instead. Let's move on. Let's talk about Joe Gelhardt. Joe Gelhardt's due back from his injury this week for Hull City, and it'll be a major boost for them in their quest to try and make the playoffs. There was some talk over the past couple of months that Leeds might consider bringing Joe Gelhardt back in January in order to sell him if there was interest in the player after an incredibly successful first half of the season at Hull City. But yesterday, the cut-off point passed for Joe Gelhardt to be recalled, so the information that is out there right now says that Joe Gelhardt will remain at Hull City until the end of the season. And if he can continue and find the form after his injury that he had in the first half of the season, Gelhardt will likely have a huge amount of interest in him come the end of the season. All reports seem to indicate that Leeds' plan in this situation is to sell Joe Gelhardt come the end of the season. I think Leeds' divisional status might have an impact on that as well, given how well he has played as a 10 right winger at times for Hull City this season, the goals and assists that he's got as well. So, yeah, great to see him back. Should be back involved this week. We'll cover that on Loan Watch towards the weekend as well for the midweek games. Let's move on. More detail on the major story that came out yesterday, and Graham Smith today in a piece in the Yorkshire Evening Post has explained Leeds United's position on Romano Schmid and Leeds' overall transfer talk and information that they give to the press. As we know, Leeds have inquired about Romano Schmid, but Graham Smith in the Yorkshire Evening Post says that Leeds United have not discussed a number 10 since the signing of Facundo Buonanotte, but says you can never really rule anything out in a January transfer window. In his piece, he outlines when journalists get information around signings for Leeds and says that Leeds have openly confirmed interest in players that they have legitimate interest in when questioned directly by the media. He points out that when Fabrizio Romano broke the story around Facundo Buonanotte being a Leeds United player as an exclusive, he was already in the door at Thorpe Arch. And when the YEP broke the stories around Lucas Mecha signing for Leeds in the summer, he had all but been signed by that stage, and the same applied to the signing of Sebastian Bornau. Leeds have given the impression over the last couple of months that these signings tend to come out of nowhere and are done rapidly, when the truth is closer to the fact that Leeds have been very good at keeping this information quiet and avoiding leaks coming out of the club. So with the Romano Schmid and the saga over that in the last couple of days, the YP chief sports writer says that Leeds held their hands up in this situation. They did admit interest in the player and they did inquire about the player, and he said that he is a player that they admired, but they have been adamant that they are not considering moving forward with the interest in that player right now. The YP says that the Facundo Buonanotte arrival ticks the attacking midfield box for Leeds, and he says that it would take an unforeseen set of circumstances for Leeds to be drawn back to the table for Romano Schmid. Graham Smith goes on to say that multiple club sources insist that their attention is now firmly on a centre forward position and the hopes of signing another target man. So the obvious one with this one is back to the Jurgen Strand Larsen situation, and it seems now, if you look at the other clubs that are interested in it, it could be opening up a little bit for Leeds United. West Ham United have signed 2 strikers in the past couple of weeks, and Callum Wilson is now set to stay at the club after his goal in their last game. Nottingham Forest yesterday agreed a fee with Napoli for 6'5" striker Lorenzo Luca, so that ticks the target man box that Sean Dyche was looking for. So it pretty much leaves Leeds and Crystal Palace right now in the mix, and Palace's interest is said to only be there if Jean-Philippe Mateta moves. So that's pretty much all that's left for the Norwegian striker, at least for any transfer this month. Now, whether Leeds can agree a package that works for them and they can get a deal done with Wolverhampton Wanderers still remains to be seen, or whether this falls into the Rodrigo Muniz situation that we saw in the summer, where there was tons of interest and waiting to get the right deal, and then it doesn't happen. We'll know in the next 2 weeks anyway, but that appears to be Leeds' only other real concrete move at this point, unless maybe something special happens between now and the end of the month. Let's move on. Let's talk about Facundo Buonanotte, and Leeds are said to be absolutely over the moon at the signing of Facundo Buonanotte, and according to Brighton sources who spoke to Team Talk, Leeds want to make that loan move a permanent one come the end of the season. Now, as per usual, this comes from Team Talk, and there are 2 major issues with this story. The first one is the current deal. It has no option to buy and no obligation in the deal, which would suggest that Brighton have no interest in going down the road of a sale of the player come the summer. The second is Brighton's desire to loan him to an English club, because if he stays in England this year, he will make homegrown status next season, which is seen as very important for Brighton. So why go to all that length if you're going to sell the player come the summer? But then the flip side to that coin is that his value will instantly go up once he becomes a homegrown player, and maybe that is their desire behind this. According to the report, Brighton are said to want £21 million for Facundo Buonanotte in the summer. Now, from a Leeds perspective, obviously that will depend on whether Leeds see any value in him over the rest of the season, the games that he has to play. But Team Talk say that they have been told by Brighton sources that during the negotiations, Leeds made it very clear that they want a permanent move in the summer for the player, and from the player's side is said to be very happy and open to the move and excited about the remainder of the season with Leeds United. Now, as I say, it is Team Talk, so meh. You know the story with that. It might be true. It might not be true. We'll only have to wait and see and find out. But yeah, it'll all depend. I mean, if he has a great season between now and the end of the year for Leeds United, obviously Leeds will probably want to get that one done on a permanent basis. The money will be the issue again as well. Can Leeds get the attacking threats in they need in the summer? The defensive ones have kind of been done last year. A couple of more upgrades needed in a few positions, and then we'll see what position they are in order to move forward with that one. But yeah, we've yet to see him in a Leeds shirt on the pitch. He has been on the bench, but hopefully likely get a start in the FA Cup game against Birmingham City, but hopefully we'll get to see him against Everton as well. Let's move on. Let's talk about the international lawmakers and the goalkeeper timeouts. Word came out from Isaac Johnson in Leeds Live today is having a look at what's being labelled as gamesmanship and the growing issue of goalkeeper timeouts creeping into football. And apparently they will be discussed at an IFAB meeting next week, as frustrations are said to be growing around the trend highlighted by Daniel Farke, where goalkeepers go down, apparently injured, and that allows the coaches or managers to bring their entire squad over to the sideline and discuss tactics and sort out any issues that they have. Something we saw Pep Guardiola do to very good success in the game against Leeds United, and something that really annoyed Daniel Farke. The meeting is said to be set for next week over what is being referred to as gamesmanship in the sport. IFAB, which is made up of delegates of FIFA, the FAs of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, are due to analyse the issues around what they're labelling as gamesmanship, and if they see any issues there, then it will move forward to talk about a vote on proposals to change this in Cardiff next month. Some of the suggestions that are being discussed include an outfield player having to go off if a goalkeeper goes down for 30 seconds. Some of the other members want that extended to remove that possibility completely and make it something you really don't want to do on a pitch. There are plenty of other discussions in there, but there are other topics as well that will be discussed within this meeting. One of those is the Arsene Wenger offside rule, which has been labelled as controversial. I don't think it's any more controversial than the current one. Some people will disagree on that, but there must be clear daylight between an attacker and a defender in order for the player to be offside, which gives the benefit of the doubt to the attackers. And will, depending on how you look at this, some people say it'll lead to more low blocks. Other people think it will make the game slightly more exciting and more open. It's an interesting one to look at. There's also discussions to be held around VAR getting involved in corners and yellow card decisions, and I think everyone agrees that we would like to see VAR involved in less decisions or just gone completely, rather than bringing it in to corners and yellow cards and just having a referee running around with a whistle at that point, because none of the decisions are ones he'll have to make at any point. The other one is the goalkeeper 8-second timer, which has already started to have issues less than 6 months into its introduction, and they're talking about introducing a physical timer to get keepers to move the ball quicker. Now, one of the rules that was brought in at the start of the year that is completely gone was where the captain was the only player that could discuss issues with the referee. We've seen referees swarmed by players already this year, so that rule lasted a few weeks before it was being ignored by the referees. And the biggest issue with all of these things is there are rules already there to help referees in all of these situations. They're just not being enforced by the referee. So introducing a new version of the same rule doesn't really fix the problem, because the problem is the referees enforcing those rules, or what they're calling ghost rules. The initial 6-second rule for goalkeepers holding the ball was already in place and led to an indirect free kick, wasn't being enforced. So they changed to an 8-second rule with a corner being given, which again isn't really being enforced, and referees have to give a countdown of 5 seconds to every single goalkeeper when they've got the ball in their hands, which again doesn't seem to be something they should be doing during a match. So yeah, interesting to see if any of these are voted on and are passed next month in Cardiff. They will come into action on the 1st of July heading into next season. So the offside one's the one to keep an eye on, but definitely the goalkeeper timeouts is one that Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta have used to affect this season. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly they can stamp that one out and stop the goalkeepers falling over and then having a full team talk on the sideline. So we'll wait and see. Folks, that'll be it for me this morning. There will be more out tonight with the podcast out this evening, myself and the lads, to discuss what's going on this week at Leeds, as well as covering the game of the weekend and the game ahead against Everton weekend and falling over everything today. Anyway, that'll be it for me. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you later on. See ya. Bye.